Hi, I'm Siobhán Fletcher, one of the journalists up at Manx Radio. Welcome to this instalment of our newscast. This time, we take a quick look at what's coming up this year.
Good morning, Moramai.
There are few things more quintessentially Manx than the parish walk.
So far, the Isle of Man's won 18 gold, 14 silver and 23 bronze medals at the Island Games in Guernsey.
It is an incredible privilege to be here today as your Chief Minister.
That was a good toot, that.
Live from Douglas in the Isle of Man, Creelavush Doolish, Ellen Vannin, Shaw Radio Vannin, Manx Radio at high noon, 12 midday.
Welcome to 2024. I know, right? How has it already been a year since we last did this? I have no idea either. Anyway, it was another bumper year on the Isle of Man, with travel drama, the removal of our postplane, a new look TT, and ongoing debates both in the island's parliament and out over whether or not we should see assisted dying legislation introduced here. So what can we expect to see this year then? As always, we don't claim to have a crystal ball here at Manx Radio, but several things have been promised for this year, and we've got a few dates in the diary to share with you. First up, strike action may have wrapped up for the time being for our island's nurses and teachers, but what is it they say about smooth seas and good sailors?
In the last few moments, we've had confirmation that steam packet workers will take action short of a strike just after Christmas. I'm joined in the studio now by our news editor, Tessa Hawley. Tessa, what's the latest?
So, Nautilus International, that's the union which represents ferry officers, says action will take effect from 6 p.m. on the 27th of December. Staff will not work any overtime or work up to cover senior roles on board. Nautilus says that action will likely impact passenger and freight ferry services to the island between the Christmas and New Year period and will continue indefinitely into 2024.
Union unrest isn't the only challenge facing the steam packet. The Manxman may have finally arrived in our waters last summer, but it hasn't always been an easy ride for the new vessel. And whilst she should have been docking in our shiny new ferry terminal in Merseyside by now, it's hoped that that project will be completed this calendar year instead.
A lot of the people that were working on it at the beginning are no longer around, if I can say that.
That's the voice of current DOI Minister Tim Crookall.
Again, we have to learn lessons from it, very, very expensive lessons, which unfortunately somebody's going to have to pay for, vis-a-vis the taxpayer. If there's anybody to be found accountable, that will come out through the report and through any meetings that I had on the back of it.
In other stories that keep on giving, the debates around the Bishop's Place in Tynwald, work permit legislation and the island's aforementioned assisted dying stance will all continue to be big news this year. We'll see our bills rise again, with a sewerage price rise and electricity price rise set to hit our wallets in April. And one local brand will steadily cease to exist, as those big green and yellow signs get swapped out for something a little more red and blue.
Just after 1:30, we received the media release saying that ShopRite has announced the sale of its 9 stores, that's all its stores, to Tesco. Derek and Kevin Nicholson from ShopRite say it is an historic moment for their business.
As always, a Manx summer can only mean one thing, as the roar of motorcycle engines bounces around the hills once again.
It's the end of spring, the sun is shining and the roar of engines is growing louder by the minute. That noise is like music to our ears on the island because the wait is finally over. The bikes are back and the Isle of Man TT is here.
Further afield, our very own Manx Missile will take to his bike once again, with a delayed retirement for Mark Cavendish and one more shot at Tour de France glory.
I spoke to the kids and I said, "What should Dad do?" And he said, "Carry on." It was a not question, so here we are, just one more year, hey?
There'll be movement on some major infrastructure projects this year, with design work set to get underway on the new Castle Rushen High School building, with a view to completing the build by March 2029. Elsewhere, there should be spades in the ground for the long-awaited Peel sewage treatment works, and a new seawall will be gracing Douglas seafront by September. Here's Tim Crookall again with the logic behind that project.
It's a mixture of things, but it's about the protection of the promenade and people going along there. And it's something that's been worked on for a long time, and it's just come to fruition now. But it's, we've all heard about the climate changes and all sorts of things. At some stage, that wall along the whole of the prom probably needs to be done. So it's just a starting point for that.
We've still got just under half a term left in office for the Cannon administration. But how would you feel about potentially voting for a different constituency in 2026? Well, that could be a reality for some if Tynwald votes for proposed boundary changes in March. The Electoral Commission has made recommendations that could affect Glenfaber and Peel, Middle, Ramsey and either Aaron Michael or Garth. One of the MHKs for the latter is Daphne Kane.
The members who are standing for Keys would be unable to get round every doorstep of every constituent if you make the constituencies bigger. I mean, if you merged two of the current constituencies and had 4 6-seat constituencies, then there would be a very large number, 15,000 people, for those members to get around.
Last year, we were told we'd see a review into the government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic published, along with an updated highway code. They're now both slated for publication this year instead. We'll see policy proposals relating to drugs presented to Tynwald by April, and proposals for a complete overhaul of Manx legislation on rights for same-sex parents introduced in the first quarter of 2024, and probably a whole host of other surprises. As always, stay tuned to Manx Radio, and we'll bring you the year's news as it happens.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Little Manx Radio newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.